In recent days, a different kind of atmosphere has begun to settle over St. James Park. It wasn't sparked by a specific result, nor by a controversial comment after the final whistle. It was something quieter, almost imperceptible to those who only follow the surface level. Between corridors, discreet meetings and conversations held away from the spotlight. A sense of movement started to circulate behind the scenes at the club. When this type of atmosphere appears, it usually means that something significant is being prepared calmly and strategically, far from the immediate headlines. The attentive supporter recognizes when Newcastle entered this mode of active waiting. Nothing explodes all at once. Nothing is confirmed directly, but small signs begin to line up. A detail here, a piece of information there, a timing that stands out. It is precisely in this space between silence and revelation that the most important stories are often born. And this is exactly where this video positions itself, connecting the clues that have emerged recently and that may explain a great deal about the club's current moment. Before moving on, it is worth remembering how this kind of content helps to keep the channel alive and active. Many supporters watch, but few subscribe, even though doing so strengthens the work and ensures that news like this reaches you more and more quickly. If you enjoy following Newcastle beyond what happens on the pitch, this simple gesture really does make a difference. Now, back to the facts. What draws the most attention is not only what happened, but especially when it happened. This time of year is usually marked by caution, internal assessments and planning. More substantial financial decisions are normally left until later, when the market landscape is clearer. But this time, something broke that pattern. A move made earlier than expected raised positive alerts and sparked important questions about the club's intentions for the coming months. It is neither coincidence nor improvisation. There is method, there is an understanding of the situation, and there is a clear message being sent. According to information revealed by Craig Hope of the Daily Mail, the owners of Newcastle United have made a new financial injection into the club, putting in around £45 million even before the January transfer window opens. With this total investment since the 2021 takeover has now surpassed the £800 million mark. The timing of this move is what stands out most and explains why the subject has gained so much relevance behind the scenes. This new injection comes at what is considered an extremely opportune moment. On the eve of January, when speculation, expectations and pressure increase, Newcastle secure financial stability to navigate this period with greater confidence. According to the report, the money is not aimed exclusively at signings, as many might initially assume, but primarily at the club's operating costs, as well as the continuation of improvements at the training center. Work at the training center remains one of the current ownership's main priorities. The internal understanding is that sustainable growth is not built solely through occasional reinforcements, but through solid and modern infrastructure. In addition, discussions are ongoing about further investment in the academy facilities, reinforcing the idea that the club is thinking long-term, taking care of the present without compromising the future. This type of vision is something supporters spent years dreaming of seeing. Adding this new injection to previous amounts, Newcastle have now received around £500 million in additional funding since the takeover. On top of the £305 million paid for the initial acquisition, the ownership structure remains unchanged, with Saudi Arabia's public investment fund holding 85% of the shares, while the Rubin family retain the remaining 15%. This stability at ownership level also plays a significant role in the process. The move sends a clear message to the market and to the supporters themselves. Despite the PIF holding a growing global portfolio of sports investments, Newcastle continue to be treated as a central and priority project. Amid doubts raised by parts of the international press, this type of practical action speaks louder than any statement. It is the fund showing, in tangible terms, that its commitment to the club remains firm and consistent. This point was recently addressed by Newcastle's chief executive, David Hopkinson, when asked about the level of PIF involvement with the club. In a strong and confident statement, he said he genuinely believes Newcastle are the fund's favorite investment. According to Hopkinson, the club receives a disproportionate amount of attention and care, far beyond what the financial size of the investment alone would suggest. Hopkinson went further, stressing that this perception is not based solely on words, but on actions. He said he speaks with PIF representatives on a daily basis and can feel in practice how the club is treated as something special. For supporters, this type of insight brings a level of reassurance that would have seemed impossible to imagine just a few years ago. It represents a stark contrast to past regimes, marked by uncertainty and constant limitations. At this stage of the story, many supporters start to wonder whether this money automatically means major spending in January. And this is where an important detail needs to be clearly understood. Despite the new injection, Newcastle still operate under the Premier League's profitability and sustainability rules, which limit unchecked spending and demand careful planning in any market activity. This does not indicate a lack of ambition, but rather strategic intelligence. Having resources available before the window opens creates options, offers flexibility and reduces risk, even if not everything immediately turns into signings. The club gains decision-making power, time to negotiate, and, above all, the calm needed to avoid acting out of desperation. In inflated markets, this is often a quiet competitive advantage. It is precisely this type of detail that separates solid projects from short-term gambles. While many clubs react to circumstances, Newcastle appear to anticipate them. And if you value this kind of in-depth analysis, it is worth reinforcing how subscribing to the channel helps keep this content consistent and detailed. It is a simple way to ensure these stories continue to be told with patience and context. What is most interesting is observing how this injection connects to future decisions that have not yet been made public. Not everything needs to be announced immediately to make sense. Often the most important moves happen before the headlines even appear. This early investment creates a financial cushion that could influence technical, administrative and structural choices over the coming months. For supporters, there is a growing sense that the club is being prepared for something bigger, even if the path is taken step by step. There are no empty promises or exaggerated euphoria. There is consistency, continuity and clear signs of institutional backing in an increasingly unpredictable football landscape. This becomes a valuable asset, especially for a club still consolidating its new identity. It is important to stress that all of this information comes from journalist Craig Hope of the Daily Mail, a professional known for his close access to Newcastle United's inner workings. This detail is crucial in understanding the credibility of what is being discussed here. It is not loose rumor or baseless speculation, but well-sourced and contextualized information rooted in the club's reality. As January approaches, this type of movement is likely to gain even more significance. Even if it does not immediately result in eye-catching announcements, it lays the groundwork on which important decisions can be made. Newcastle enter this period with greater structure, greater stability and, above all, the confidence that their owners remained fully committed to the growth of the project. For those who follow the club closely, this may well be the strongest sign of progress since the change of ownership. It is not just about spending, but about knowing when, how and why. And it is precisely this deeper understanding that makes the difference in the long term. If you want to continue following this kind of behind-the-scenes insight and analysis, subscribing to the channel is the best way to make sure you do not miss anything that is still to come.